Let me fill up my water.
Okay.
Be right back. Oh my goodness. How are you?
Take your time. Oh, I'm doing good. We uh we survived Snowmageddon.
I'm noticing. Yeah.
We were trying to figure out we didn't see any official reports for our town, but like our town is kind of in between Clifton Park. We're technically in Malta. Malta is kind of like part of Boston Spa, but their totals were, I think, in the like around 12, but I think we got more than that. But
Oh,
who
okay.
knows? We didn't
Yeah.
actually measure, so
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I did measure with a sculling ore. I put up a
I saw that.
post. That post did better than any other post that I have ever done. So
I love it.
I'm like, I give up.
I know. I
Like it's like you try really hard and like,
know.
yeah. And then you put up a silly post about sticking a sculling ore in the snow to see how deep it is, and like that one got like 17. Last time I checked, got 1,700 views. It probably has more views than that right now. Let me see. Let's see how many views this silly post got. Like, I spent a bunch of time like doing like all sorts of research for like my other posts. Let's see. I don't My phone has been really weird. So this has it's still at 17K or 1,700, not 17K. If it was at 17K, like I'd be really, really um yeah, I don't get the whole algorithm. I'm like, I just put out there what I think is helpful and go
Yeah.
from there. So but yeah, yeah. So I did we pick a topic today or
No, we didn't. The one thing I did want to say is that we got our email. So for the team for Shen, we got our email for the Stotesbury Regatta.
Oh.
And so interesting. I don't think there's any of this is insider information, but they have a backup location, which I
Oh.
actually wanted to check out more. But I did look it up where it is, and it's like more than an hour south of Philly. So I mean, in their email they say it's a commutable distance. So it's more like, I guess last year they had to cancel the second day, so they ran the regatta the first day, and then like the time trials and stuff. That was on Friday, and then Saturday that whole like so I drove down there with I can't remember how many. A few, maybe. I can't remember. A few kids. And then I couldn't drive back because I was going to a wedding, like a bridal shower in Buffalo.
I think I remember. Yeah, I think I remember this.
Yeah, so I went down to Philly and then up to Buffalo and then back home. Big triangle. So what that night, so the night before Saturday, we had gotten all kinds of like contact. There was like this almost like a tornado warning as the kids were getting up. Like I had left, I'd gone back to the hotel, and then said goodbye to Hannah, and then there were still kids at the race course. They were trying to like get them to their driver and everything, and they had like blasted on the loudspeakers, anybody still left, please leave the race course, because there was like all kinds of bad storms coming in, and we were there during really bad storms
Right.
that passed. But then they were saying they were going to update. I think maybe some races were canceled and they were doing them earlier in the morning the next day. So they had to like people had to kind of be aware, like paying attention to their phones and like emails and stuff, just in case they had to like change schedules. So I remember seeing all of the band posts. That's the app that our team uses.
Yeah.
Um, just letting people know, like, make sure you're checking your phones. And then in the middle, like literally 3 o'clock in the morning, they were like sending out messages. And
Mm.
just because they had to like let the coaches know, and then the coaches had to let the chaperones know that like if the kids weren't, they were sleeping, that they would get up in time, because we were, and I'm sure we weren't the only ones, we were like good 40-minute drive. I mean, maybe not 40 minutes total, but like by the time you drive there, get to the course. I mean, you still have to like drop the kids off somewhere and all that.
Yeah.
Um, so like you needed to plan ahead and have time. So yeah, so anyway, there was a lot of craziness with that one. So maybe they're just like gun shy after last year because they had so much flooding after all that rain.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like it's St. Andrews is the alternate location, and it's in Wilmington, Delaware. So it's not super close.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, but one, sorry, total tangent. But the one thing that I wanted to say that I just have to give them airtime as much as possible. They guaranteed a free live stream. So
Ooh.
good
Yay.
job, Sperry. And they said they're committed to it. And I'm
Nice.
like, yes. I just hope that more more race course people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, after doing our live stream, not to say that we're like live stream professionals, but I mean, just with some simple devices, you can get
Yeah.
quite a bit done. And then if you happen to have somebody who will donate their time, I mean, like it is
Yeah.
hard to sit there the whole time and like,
Yes.
oh, Salisbury, if you're looking for commentators,
Yeah.
well, so
Be there.
so yeah, if you're interested in like having some random moms who row come out and be commentators for your live, send us a message. But like
Yeah.
like if you have enough people who are willing to kind of be there or are going to be there anyway,
Mhm.
we just did ours with a computer, a webcam,
Yeah.
microphones. Some people, I had for the one for the head of the Genesee, I was able to do the bridge shot, and that was just someone on their phone. I sent them a link.
Yeah.
So there's really great software out there to do, to be able to let people see what's kind of going on. So yeah, that's great that they're going to have the live stream. So you don't have to run around and try to, find out where the kids are and or what race
Yeah.
are we on. Like I think that that was helpful for people, like because we're like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, we're seeing people launch for this event, but
Mhm.
this event's the one that's gone by, and that makes such a huge difference. Like I think that's one of the hardest things when you're at a regatta is just knowing when things are happening. Have they already left? Have they already launched? Like, I think that that's, so helpful. So,
Mhm.
oh, I've
Yeah.
got to. Oh, speaking of live stream, here's Timmy. He's on his way over to school. He's going over to he's commuting to Brockport this semester. So, he was on
Ah,
the Genesee live stream. You want to say hi? This is just the Rowing Friends podcast.
hi, Timothy. Good to see you.
Well,
You did a great job.
See you later, buddy. Have fun. Yeah, have fun at college. So yeah, he's commuting probably all the semesters into perpetuity.
Mhm.
We live probably about 30 minutes from Brockport.
Mhm.
So at the most. I mean, in the snow, probably 30 minutes. On a regular day, probably you can do it in maybe 25 minutes.
Mhm.
So yeah, he's just making his lunch. Sorry. What's this? Um, but yeah, I mean, we've talked about colleges and all those things
Mhm.
so far, and like it's very interesting because Timmy goes to SUNY, so
Mhm.
and he's doing 3/4, 3/4 time, so he's not full time this semester. He's only going on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He's able to work out a schedule where he could take 3 classes, um,
Mhm.
on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and yeah, and he's working the other time, and then he'll get back into full time next year. He changed his major, so um
Oh, okay.
that's part of it. So he's we're
Yeah.
excited for him to kind of get back into a regular schedule.
Mhm.
He did like you can defer at I don't know if it's like every college that or they each probably have different rules, but Brockport said you could defer for up to 3 semesters before you had to reapply. So he
Mhm.
took 1 semester off
Okay.
and kind of just worked and,
Mhm.
hung out at home. And actually, it was really helpful because my mom was living here with us. So, he was just another set of hands to help with that.
Yeah.
So, so I encourage people out there, like if you got your kid in college or you're a college kid and you need a semester off, like there are options to do
Yes.
and to go ahead and although it's pretty scary to stop doing something that you committed to saying that you were going to do, but like,
Mhm.
there are no rules. Life is, life can
Yeah.
you can kind of set it up the way that you like and what makes the difference for you. So, um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so he'll be home, and then we have Luke going to RIT in the fall, which we're super excited about, but super scared about too, because the nice pricey private college, and he plans on staying on campus. So that's always the sticker shock as a parent. You're doing room and board and tuition and all that stuff together. So very different costs. Timmy's is in the thousands, and Luke's is going to be in the tens of thousands. So, figuring that out. And my fingers are crossed for Luke because I want him to row. And I know I've said this before, but he's committed to the idea of it. He's going to do at least a semester and
Okay.
see how it goes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of the update from the impromptu update, college update, because Timmy was rolling through back on his first back to school. So
Yeah. Yeah.
how
Well, that's
are Hannah's
yeah.
plans?
Yeah. So for Hannah, she ended up applying to 12 colleges. Um, Nowhere early decision. I don't think that girl is ready to make her decision yet. I mean, she's got some really nice options. She's created a lot of relationships with different groups of people at different colleges. She's very focused on day to day, on like her classes. So they're probably similar for you guys, but she started today was her first day because they had a snow day yesterday of the second semester slash quarter three. So she's excited because she's taking college psychology. She took a regular psychology class they have. So Shen hasn't introduced AP psychology yet, although the teacher that she has for college psychology is thinking about starting AP psych at their school. But she will get college credit. Reminder to me, I gotta remember to go on and pay for the credits today. It's like one of those things, like you have to add them to your cart and it takes a day for it to like refresh. I did that 2 days ago, so now I just have to remember to go in and pay. Um, let's see. I'm always weary of sharing too much because
Oh,
ultimately I have no idea where she's going to decide to go. And so I don't want to say anything and then it be like completely different. But um yeah, so we have a visit coming up at one college. We scheduled it. So one thing that happened, so our team usually goes to Camp Bob. I know we had an episode where I was down there last year. So there was a series of events that was just making this trip look like it was not going to happen. The real challenge this year is we have a lot less total people going down because Burton Hills decided they didn't want to go. So that although we had more students going last year than Burn Hills, it still was a huge cost increase for us because there really is no other option. I mean, we've looked into options, and then if I was looking at like past budgets from this trip. Shen did do it with vans and van drivers a few years ago, and it is a lot more cost effective to do the vans, but it adds other complications, right? So it's a little more like parents are a little bit more worried about that, and you need twice as many adults to commit to the trip because even if they're not committing to be like a full-time chaperone, even if they like decide that they're going to drive down and then fly back home and then fly back, we didn't even get to that point, but if that was an option, it would still be cheaper. Like even if we flew the parents back home for the week and flew them back to drive, we would need at least two vans, estimating like how many kids we would have going, and then two drivers for each van. So, and we only had normally with the bus, we only had two chaperones, and then the coaches that were going. And we really try to make sure the chaperones are doing the chaperoning and the coaches just are there to do their coaching and
yeah.
anything that needs to happen for you know, to run practices and stuff. So it just was getting hard. We had chaperones like commit, back out, and and then ultimately like one of the coaches that drives the trailer, there's two of them, and then one of them broke his ankle. And we were looking at other options, and then it just didn't seem like it was going to work out. And actually, my gut tells me we're not, I mean, it was devastating for a lot of the kids. I know my kids were super disappointed.
Mhm.
When we get closer to the date, I was really worried about the weather because this time of year, like February, we've been really lucky. Last year it was cold but doable. I mean, there was no snow.
Mhm.
It was cold enough to snow at times overnight, you know? And so there were some practices where they couldn't do the early practice. They'd have to wait until it got a little bit warmer so that the water temp situation was okay. Um, I'm just thinking we're gonna get to that point in February and realize like even if it did work out, like they would never be able to go on the water. And then it would have been a real, you know, situation because you got a bunch of kids down there.
Oh my
You can't even
goodness.
get on the water. So we'll see. I mean, who knows? But
Well,
so anyway, what?
there's always the option of going to the Bahamas. Do you guys wanna go
Oh,
to the Bahamas instead?
that would be nice. Yeah, so some of the parents are working on like maybe like a fun kind of overnight thing for the kids. The coach was talking about maybe something in tanks somewhere. We don't have any tanks near us. Well, that's not true. Union has them, but they're really small, so it would be kind of not
Why don't
worth
you
it.
guys come down to Rochester?
So that was the thought. I am not a huge I'm going on the record here, but I wasn't a huge fan of that. I mean, I love the idea of going out there. It's just I've been in tanks. They're exciting. Like the thought of tanks, if you've never been in tanks, is fun. And then they're fun for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then it's just, like,
And then
indoor,
you're like,
like, musty.
yeah. And so like a whole trip dedicated to that, mm, I don't know. And I am kind of burnt out from like planning a trip that didn't actually happen. So I'm not raising my hand to like jump on that one. And I just don't know if the kids like I think the kids are more upset about not being able to go and have the team bonding. That's my opinion. It's my opinion. Um,
That's what
I don't think
about. Yeah.
yeah, I think the coaches are thinking like it's more of a like like let's get to training, let's get out there and get faster, which happens too. And don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's ultimately like what all the kids are like, bummed out about. It'll be apparent though. I think it'll hurt us in the long run. It'll make us not as fast as we would have been if we had been down there, but I don't know if it's, you know, yeah, it is what it is at this point. But there was another thing. Oh, so then as soon as I knew that trip was canceled, we jumped on a college visit that we've been trying to get in for Hannah. So that's what's planned at the beginning of the February break. Um, and then I'm guessing whatever kind of wherever she's at, we've got about 7 or 8 decisions in, all good news so far. The other ones were all regular decisions. So we won't be hearing from them until March or April. And it's so funny because that is just how things go. It seems like everything's so much earlier, but that's traditionally when colleges send out their regular decision letters.
Yep.
And it just seems like everybody's doing early action, early decision these days. Colleges, I mean, I work for a college. I know because our admissions people were like, we're sending these out earlier than last year. So your numbers are going to look wonky because we get reports that show basically how we're doing this, like at this point of the year versus this point last year, right? So the interesting thing, this is a little bit of like insider to like how things work internally with colleges, but um so the reports show us like how are we doing with our application numbers, right? So we keep track of that as long as we still accept applications at any different point of the admission cycle. And then once they get their decisions, how many were admitted, percentage wise for how many applied, and then percentage wise versus how many were accepted this time last year.
Mhm.
And then the same thing for enrolls. So the students that decide like they're accepted and that they're definitely coming. So the charts are all over the place and it's very hard to like read the tea leaves because everybody's doing things earlier. So when you see the numbers, it kind of freaked me out because we are at kind of in our situation, we are in a very large department on a campus where like colleges are struggling nationwide. Okay. I'm not even going to say it. Other than like the top 20 tier, all colleges are struggling to compete in this market. That is just reality. And that's just not just me projecting our situation or saying anything about my college. That's not true everywhere. The cream, the top of the top, they just have the luxury of having name brand awareness and everybody wants to apply there. So they're never really going to struggle with getting, even if they get in the headlines for bad things, it doesn't hurt them enough to really suffer in not getting applications. But then everybody below those top 20 schools are like trying to fight through all the noise to get people to apply and to come. So, yeah, so like when we see the numbers in my department, we actually like we have too many. So we're at a situation where we have like it's a very popular major, right? Engineering and specifically like mechanical, aerospace, and even nuclear now. Nuclear is in our department and used to be like the baby. Like you didn't get that many. Like we would have our applications would be I don't know, like 2000 for mechanical and then 800, 900 for aerospace. And then there'd be like 40 nuclear. And so, but those nuclear yielded a lot because a lot of those students who know about nuclear, there's not that many schools that have nuclear.
Yep.
We would get a lot of those students just because they didn't have many other options. It's a small department, they get a lot of personal attention. But anyway, so when we looked at those numbers, they were over like 200% compared to last year, which at first you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like we're going to have twice as many students coming. And then when we saw how many were accepted, we're like, what is happening? You guys are just accepting as many percentage wise as you did last year. And we had too many students last year. But when you start thinking about it and how they moved everything earlier, it's going to taper off quicker and a huge group of people make their decisions and then it's going to kind of slow down and then it's just going to kind of like flatline for the rest. And it should end up about the same, I'm hoping. I hope people know what they're doing because, yeah, it's such a hard thing to predict when it's so different year to year and when it's not I feel like it's not it's more drastic than it has been like slowly over time. I feel like compared this year to last year, the numbers are just going to look drastically different. So it it's interesting. It's interesting to see happen and it's to be on the end where we have to provide the classes, the seats, the professors, the experience for those students and not have any control over the first part of that, like who gets accepted and then how do we influence them to come and that part that's hit in the stomach because you're like, okay, what are we gonna do? Like we've got students who need to take classes that can't get into classes and that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm saying that and I'm putting a lot out there. That is not different than any other place. That and it's the uncertainty. I'm not saying that we're in a unique position. That's just the life of people in higher ed trying to make decisions. I'm not making decisions. I'm gonna put it that out there. I'm not part of the decision maker group. I'm just saying like looking at it and how the numbers look, it shows that it's not easy. So, and I know on all sides of it that like the parent experience, the student experience, and like the flood of information that the students get and all parts of it, it's interesting to see all of that happen in real time. Because I get the emails too. So I see all of the reaching out and oh my God, some of them are really funny. The emails like it's almost like passive aggressive texts from like somebody who's like trying to date you, right? Like the emails from colleges that Hannah's never expressed any interest in. And they're like, I guess this is goodbye. Like that's their tagline. Like our admissions date came and went. I guess you're not coming. Like, have a great life. It's like it's so funny to see some of them. I'm like, oh my God.
The creative
It's too much.
marketing, I just think in general, emails have gotten to be really interesting as like a person who has like a business and I'm trying to send these emails that people will open and just some of the marketing tricks that some of these
Yeah.
some people employ like the idea of like, oh well, I guess we'll never talk again, and that will be like the subject line. Like,
Yes.
what the heck? And so you open it and
It
then you're
could
like,
be.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, then it's like, oh, our admissions date has passed and I guess you're not coming to our college, but just in case things change.
Yep.
I think the other thing that like the process is probably speeding up because I feel like this generation just can't wait for anything. Like there's just like
Yeah.
no ability to like let something kind of develop over time, and I think that that reflects in a lot of things and even the college admissions process because I remember like when we were kids, you had to mail the stuff off and
Yeah.
mail you stuff back and then you could like, like it was a long process. And I think a lot of these kids kind of are like, well, why is this process long? I mean, like it's digital. Like, let me send this in, you review it, let me
Right.
know, let me make my decision and let me be on my way. And I think that that
Yep.
has a lot to do with kind of like the urgency and
Yeah.
the like you guys having to make decisions quicker because these kids are not waiting around. And so like I feel like there's like
Right.
probably that balance between we got to capture these kids now because they're not going to wait for us. And the only, we'll get the kids who really just were dragging their heels. Those are the only kids who are going to be left. So anyone, you got to try to make these decisions so quickly. But
Yeah.
it's a big decision. As I kind of look at college and I think about like hearing a lot about like AI recently and just like the idea that a lot of our jobs are going to be different or just not exist. And they were saying something about like the fact that it like in the next like 5 to 10 years, AI will change like pretty much everything and anything that you touch. And the idea that, it takes about 10 years to make like a doctor or a high level professional. Like you're somebody, if you, it takes you about 10 years if you're, going to undergrad and you're going to graduate for some, a doctorate or something like that. And then you're going to go into your field and kind of be like kind of the new person in your field or, have some sort of fellowship or something like that or mentorship that or apprenticeship that you have to do. You're talking about a 10-year span. Anybody who's entering college right now, are they studying for something that may not even be a job? Like if they were
Mhm.
talking about, I think it was, there's a quote from like Elon Musk where he was like, don't go to medical school. We're not going to need surgeons in 10 years.
Mm.
So I was like, wow. Like, to be making statements like that. And like, you're like, is that true? Is it not? Even if it's sort of kind of true, you know what I mean? Even for me, I've
Yeah.
seen different, I was scrolling through Instagram and there was like this like a tablet thing. It must have been like an app or something that you could get, and it would help you with like aches and pains. And basically, it would give you exercises. It would check in with you in the morning. I was like, that's like physical therapy. I'm like, that's what I do. So like, what's gonna be, like as these kids pick what they're doing right now, will there be the flexibility to then take a degree and, do something different with it? And I think like we're always evolving. I mean, they you talk about like the horse and buggy, the idea like or the farmer or something like that. Like the idea that there's still farmers. It's just like everybody isn't a farmer,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
there's still horse people who go around in horse and buggy, but like not everybody does that. Like it becomes like a small niche population, but everybody else
Yeah.
moves on to that next thing.
Mhm.
I just hope this next thing involves like being creative and productive in some way. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
like the dystopian type of talk about it is that like we won't have jobs, we won't have work, there won't really be anything that we're doing. And I'm like, that sounds kind of boring. Like, I think,
Well, and it
yeah.
yeah, and it leaves a lot to like yeah, so it's hard because I feel like I'm okay thinking about the fact that things can be a little bit more streamlined and maybe efficient for people, but the human, I have a hard time with anything where a human and having a human that like can vouch for it, that's in
Yeah.
charge and overseeing it is not part of the process, And in
Yeah.
order for you to have an expert human that
Mhm.
can know if the AI is doing what it should do and in an ethical way,
Yeah.
those people have to get experience from somewhere, right? And that's the hard part, right? Like how how do we know that AI is growing our food
Yeah. Yeah.
if we don't know how it should be done, in a ethical and sustainable way,
Yeah.
if we're not, familiar with just the basics of things. So, yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. And I think I kind of go back to, and I know this is kind of like, I don't know, like I think certain fields, I find it hard to believe that AI is going to always take over. I
Yeah.
mean, I work with engineering students, and I think to some extent engineering is going to survive no matter what, because when we're talking about building things and making the machines and the tools for AI, like, yeah, so some of the things and that they're doing now can be like computer science kind of like had this huge um like just with students, but with jobs, like now there's no jobs for science students, and a few years ago nobody, like everybody wanted to be in computer
Mhm.
science.
Right.
I just don't know if engineering is going to have that same um wave. I think it's just going to be there. I also think the liberal arts, I know it probably people say that like because I was a psychology major, the social sciences, but like, that is where we get the humanity,
Yeah.
like how do we know when things, how can we tell something's true or not true, how can we relate to others, and how can we work with others, and how can we make being alive a meaningful experience, like that part. I don't know. I think we need people who can still grow in those areas. I think we all kind of can grow in those areas, even if you are an engineer. That's why they still have to take the social sciences and the humanities and arts classes.
Yeah.
But I think to some extent those areas, and you're not going to see, like, what we do see in the STEM field is sometimes it's really hard to find faculty and people who can teach because they might be really good in engineering, and I'm not saying this about any of our faculty. I think all our faculty are great, but I'm just saying, like, it's a lot harder to find people that want to work in higher ed and teach young people if their true passion is something that's STEM related, right? Which it might not be. Like, they may have survived their schooling because they love doing what they're doing, but relating to people and being like creative or being like connected with people was maybe not their strength. But now they're expected to teach people, and that you do need the more of the human side to things. Whereas if you're going to be a psychology faculty member, I think there's always going to be people out there that want to teach that, because psychology is working with people and understanding relationships and people. So it kind of goes hand in hand, right? So I think to some extent, the people that are going into those fields, it'll be more, I think it'll be more, it'll sustain over time versus like the STEM kind of has its challenges and its ups and downs depending on the field. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's all very interesting. I mean, it's definitely things that people debate, or you see the clickbait, like
Yep.
5 useless degrees, and how many times psychology ends up on there. And it's like, I get it. Like, you could go to school for psychology and not end up with any job offers if you have no idea what you're going to do with yourself with that degree.
It's true.
But it's a building block, it's like what you make out of it, It happens to engineers too, by the way. I have plenty of times seen students with an engineering degree that have no interest in engineering. Guess what? They don't end up with the jobs. They did it because they thought, I have a guaranteed job at the end of this. And that's not how these things work.
Um, Yep, you did. And I think it's hard, for these kids to kind of to be creative like that and kind of be in the world and they spend so much time on their phones and everything is so instantaneous and like there's never like the opportunity for things to kind of develop and like like the relationships and being with people, like all that is really important when it comes to like post career. I always say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And like these kids are not the best at the who you know portion. Like, they're very like heads down, earphones on, and like, kind of bulldozing their way through. And then at the end, they're just like, "Well, why can't I get a job?" And I'm like, "Well, you didn't talk to anybody. You don't. Your professor doesn't know who you are. Like all all these different things that kind of, um, would help you further down the road. They're just not encouraged to do, and it's tough. It's tough. It's tough to know what you wanna do, when you get out of
Yeah.
and it's really, like, within those first just you get this degree, and you hope within those first couple of years, you can at least use that degree to get some type of job, but you're evolving and changing, and I think that there's not really an emphasis on that, like, what you choose at 18 may not be what you wanna do at 50, but you've gotta choose something at 18 to get started with. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta take that first step. So, like, pick something you like and then talk to people. And I mean, I did physical therapy because my roommate was majoring in it. Like I was biology pre-med when I went to UB, and like I probably I don't know if I would have eventually gotten around to physical therapy or it wouldn't even cross my mind, but it was only because I had a roommate, we're sitting in a room together and I'm like, "Well, what's your major?" And she's like, "Physical therapy." And she ended up not even doing physical therapy. I forget what her major was.
That was
Um
me too. Did I ever tell you I started as a physical therapy major?
No, I did not know
Yeah.
that. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
So
I did
funny.
not
Yeah.
know that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I started as in that was what I put on my applications. I came to orientation and I told my parents, I'm not doing physical therapy. They were like, "What? Your whole college search was based on this and you're just changing it now?" And I'm like, "Yep."
Well, you ended up at one of the best places for, like, if you decide to do something different. Like, I think
Mhm.
UB's uniquely positioned, in a way that, like, really a lot of their, my sister did pharmacy at UB, like, I mean, like, you can just up and change.
Yeah.
Like, there were people who are in architecture. I'm like, I mean, you could take
Yeah.
architecture. I mean, like, you'd be an engineer. You could, they had really great, fine arts. Like,
Nursing.
nurse,
Yeah,
you could be a
nursing.
nurse, you
Yep.
could I mean, like, there was a lot of different things. I mean, they had, like, all the allied health, so they had speech, they had
Mhm.
OT, they had PT,
Yeah,
you could be on the
John is a nuclear
table,
medicine. John
nuclear
did that.
medicine.
Yeah.
So, like, I just felt like there was always somewhere to turn when if you decided, "Okay, like, this isn't why I need to be here," like, and
Mhm.
there were majors that were there to kind of to catch you, like, because I mean, like I said, I didn't go in there, as a PT major, so
Yeah.
that's so funny. What other schools did you look at?
So let's see. So I applied to Buffalo, Boston University. Boston University didn't have PT, but they had athletic training. So I was kind of like borderline, not sure if I wanted to do sports medicine, athletic training, PT.
Mhm,
Um, Ithaca. Oh boy, where else? Northeastern. I think that God, is that it? It seems like such a short list compared to like how many Hannah applied to, but um I think it just came down to like the reality started setting in that like cost wise it mm. I think one of the schools, it might have been Boston, like I got into like generally like the college, but not into the major I wanted. So, and I mean, the cost even back then was like, I mean,
yeah,
the SUNY was just I still had loans too, so, I mean, thank God I went there because, I mean, I mean, I've paid them off, like, years ago, they're done, they weren't a lot, but, like, man, like, I feel bad, like, I've worked with people who are still paying their loans off, or they just kept taking loans out to get more and more degrees that were all, like, private school degrees, and it's
yeah.
like, oh, man, it can really
Well, I
it
think
can really take its toll.
we were uniquely positioned, I
Mhm.
think, like, Like, SUNY was reasonably cost. Like, I went to a private high school, and my parents paid less to send me to UB than they were paying to send me to high school. So
Yeah, sure.
I remember that. I remember that conversation. I'm like, this is amazing. And the only reason I think I really went to UB was because Allison was there. My sister was there, so we were going to be there at the same time. And like that was one of the big drivers for me to go to UB. Like she was already there, so like I was familiar with the school. I'd been there 100 times. Like it was a security blanket kind of choice for me.
Yeah.
I forget. I think I applied to Binghamton. I applied to Geneseo. Geneseo, I got like a really great scholarship. Like it would have been significantly less. But then the only reason I applied to Geneseo is because in cross country we ran, and I forget if it was like sectionals or something there. And I remember being really beautiful. So then I was like, oh, put that on the list. I never really visited the school. And then when I got in and got this really great scholarship, I was like, I don't know if I want to go there. And so then, I ended up just picking UB. I forget. There might have been a couple other schools. I applied to U of R because U of R had a I don't know if they still do this. It's like an early admissions medical school. And
Oh, yeah.
I had done that. I had done that for a couple schools that I had applied to. So it must have been like I know I applied to U of R and when I applied to Buffalo, they had something similar, but it wasn't exactly like that. Like it was like a track to get you set up so that you'd be ready for medical school, but it wasn't. But the one for U of R was like if you got into this program, you were going to a spot in medical school was going to be held for you.
Mhm.
Um, so I didn't get that, and so
Those are really competitive now. I mean, I'm
yeah.
sure they were then too, but
Well, yeah,
yeah, they're
it's ridiculous, and like
yeah.
and I'm kind of, looking back on it, it all works out the way it's supposed to. And I was very committed to the medical school idea for quite a while. I was studying for the MCATs after I graduated from PT school, I started working, and then I always tell the story the fall of 2001 was 9/11. So 9/11
Mm,
happens, and like, of course, like, that was probably one of the biggest like close to home major kind of things that happened in our lives. And I know like within a couple weeks Tim asked me to marry him and I was just like, the world's ending. Let's just do, like, why am I gonna go to medical school, spend another 4 years in college? Well, like I want to plan a wedding. And so
mm.
like, then I just I never took the MCATs at that point. And then later, I ended up doing it's interesting you mentioned Boston University because that's where I did my transitional DPT because I graduated in 2000 and so at that point physical therapists just needed the bachelor's and then to pass the licensure. And within 2 years they changed it to a master's and then within another 2 years they changed it to the doctorate. So in 2004 I did a transitional doctorate with Boston University. And so that was 2 years. So by 2006, that's when I got my DPT. So, but there was like a whole group of us, of people who were recent grads. And, we felt like the new recent grads were going to have this new degree. And, would there be an advantage to having it? And I'm glad I did it. I met PT, like it was a distance learning. And we would go up
Mhm.
to Boston. I think we went to Boston maybe 2 or 3 times to do presentations, that kind of thing, meet the class. But it was really interesting because I mean, back then they didn't have Zoom. I don't know how we were like, I know we sat in lectures. Like there were occasions
Yeah.
when we were live lectures. I don't know how those were held. Is it weird? Like I can't remember exactly. I mean, at the time I was also in '05. I had Timmy. So like halfway
Mhm.
through my schooling, like I get pregnant with Timmy. And talk about loans. I didn't have any loans from UB, but the loans from that, I was working 7 days a week. I would work Monday through Friday at my full-time job and then Saturday and Sunday at a separate nursing home doing per diem work. And that's how I paid off the 20 grand for the transitional doctorate. To think about that, I'm like, I had that 20 grand and just invested it in 2006. Didn't do the didn't do the doctorate, and now what I would be looking at it at 2026, 20 years later, if I invested in the S&P, like would I be a little bit more ahead? I don't know. But I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful for the education. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to work with all the different therapists that I got communicate with and all the extra learning that I got from that. But, you make those decisions and like, you look at the money decisions from like the kids' standpoint too. Like college is so expensive. You take that money and you put it away. Would they be more ahead than if they take that money, use it, get a degree, get a job, work at that job, and then, like if you do the math
Yeah.
on it. I don't know. I mean, we like to think that if you do the math on it, the value is definitely there for the education, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen it both ways working in a college. I have a few students now who came back after working for years and wanting to get their degree. And, it's not easy. It's not easy, but I don't have to worry about those students as much as I have to worry about some of our traditional four-year students. Like those those students know what's on the line and they know every minute counts and they may not be getting the A's in all of their classes, so some of them do. But they're doing what they need to do to get the degree that they know they need to get the job that they want, and they have a better idea of what that job is and what it looks like. And some of them have it waiting for them and they just need to get the degree. Maybe they've worked in the field, they just haven't been working as an engineer, with that title, but they have experience in that field in some other capacity. And then they know what their job and what their life is going to look like once they're able to get that title, and that degree. So yeah, I know it's not a cookie cutter decision that anyone can make, and you just got to make the best decision that you can at each phase that you're in.
Well, and then, I mean, not for nothing, if we all stop working, we'll still have rowing, right? Like we can just go out and row all day long, right?
That's right. That's right.
That will be my plan. If we all go UBI and nobody works, then we'll just go rowing every day. We'll have to move closer to each other, or I guess it doesn't matter. I'll just
Mhm.
drive. What's the point? I could
You
just
have
drive
all day.
all day. I could drive about 4 hours. I could go rowing with you for 2, and I could get back in the car, my self-driving car.
That's right. You take a
Get it up.
nap, do some work, read a book,
There will be any
chill
work to
works out.
do. I can read some books. I can read some rowing books. I could draw and paint
Yeah.
and, write the great American novel. I mean, you guess if you just had nothing to do, or there, I would definitely, I wouldn't be one of those people who had a problem filling their day. I could definitely fill my day if I didn't have like work. Like, there's a lot of
Mhm.
things I'd like to do.
Mhm.
I know like my kids, like they really like to do nothing. Um,
Mhm.
they're very skilled at nothing. They make an art out of having a day where they can do nothing. Um,
Yeah.
so I think there's gonna be people like that, but I think I'll, like I said, I'll fill my day with some rowing.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We got it figured out. Oh my goodness. I will let you go because I'll continue to just ramble on and
Oh
on.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
Um, so we've got some guests coming up soon.
Yeah, we have to get a time for Dan. I know we owe him a text to figure out what time, and then I don't know. Did we have someone else?
I don't know. When we did, so the one podcast before this one would be a guest, and while we were talking
Oh,
to him, he had mentioned the name of another person.
oh yes, yeah, Chris.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We'll
yeah.
figure out. Still got to get Courtney and John in here one of these days.
I know.
Keep saying. I'm
Yeah, that'd be
gonna
so
text
great.
them right
Yeah,
now.
give
We can
them a
get that
text
started.
now.
Yeah.
And for Dan, did you want to do 9 a.m.? Because I know you're doing that visit on that day.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
we'll do
mean,
9 a.m. Just get it going. And then, yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be 9. I don't think we're doing anything that day. So, like, I think it's what, maybe, let me see how far of a drive it is. Um, Maybe 3 hours. Let's see. We could do 9 or 10.
okay.
It says it's 3 hours and 9 minutes away. So, yeah.
And I'll keep you posted about the Bahamas. As I look at
Bahamas?
the Bahamas, yes. So,
For what?
for a training trip, like
A
a
training trip?
adult training trip. Nassau Rowing Club is in.
Yeah.
They do
Uh-huh.
sculling. They have several
Okay.
boats. They can accommodate about 10 to 12 people. I've gotten information. Flights can range anywhere, depending on the dates that you pick, can range anywhere from round trip, 400 to $1,000 for the flight. accommodations are gonna flow somewhere in the $1,500 range. For if you want to do all inclusive, there is an all inclusive that's close to there, so no, you don't have to worry about food. They do have like townhouse style places that are kind of close. I haven't figured out transportation because it's not walkable. Bahamas is not a walkable place, so getting rides to and from practice would be needed. Looking at like a Monday to a Saturday, potentially, arrive, afternoon Monday, maybe have a late day practice that day, 2 practices Tuesday, 2 practices Wednesday, maybe 1 practice on Thursday and an excursion or something afterwards, or no practice on Thursday so you can kinda rest up, and then, or do like an excursion to see, like, the Bahamas because 'cause you're there, and then Friday practice, morning, afternoon, and then flights go out pretty late, so you could do, like, an early morning practice, like something like a 6 to 9 or something like that, back to wherever, check out, get on the plane, come home. So all
Nice.
together, it's looking like 3K to 3,500 for the whole week. The actual the actual practices, um, are only about it's $40 a practice. So,
Mm-hmm.
so depending on 5 to 6 practices, that actual total's small. When I talked to the coach, he was saying that, food and accommodations are really probably gonna take up the bulk of, the cost. The time frame we were looking at was around Easter break, but I know a lot of teams start to get back on the water at that point. But
Mm-hmm.
it might be
Yeah.
nice to get back out on the water where it's nice and warm and do some sculling, get a week's worth of sculling in, and then, come back home and kind of already dust off all the winter and such. So, I'll keep you posted. Mhm.
Okay. So you're gonna organize this, and this
I'm
is
organizing.
for
Yeah, right now I'm organizing this. I'm trying to figure it out. I've got all the different numbers kind of floating around. Those are like the rough numbers. Um, and then, I gotta like I said, I gotta figure out transport, like between like how much it
yeah.
would cost to get to practice each day. Um, and then like if you stayed at the townhouse style place, we'd have to figure out food. And that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that can be a big additional cost. And the all-inclusive, I do enjoy an all-inclusive, like, that's kind of how Tim and I usually travel. Um, but the townhouse place is close to kind of like a little village, and they have, like, more local fairs, so that might be nice. I don't know. But
Sure.
it may turn into something that I kind of, maybe scope out and do, like, even, like, kind of like a shorter trip that might be, like, a Thursday to Tuesday or something like that, except they don't do practice on Sundays. The coach doesn't coach on Sundays. So that's why I was
Oh,
kind of
okay.
thinking the whole Monday to Saturday, but that might be
Mhm.
a large adventure to kind of
Mhm.
have a big group come to without necessarily knowing what the boots on the ground will actually look like. But,
Yeah.
they have a beautiful space. They row on Lake Cunningham, which is like a completely flat, beautiful lake. But they're
Nice.
still close to the beach and stuff. So, both of the accommodations are like on the beach, that I've looked at so far. So, and yeah, they do sculling. So they have the oct, they have the quads, doubles, singles. Can take as many experienced rowers out. Like they can take out like 5 to 6 in the singles who are experienced, and then you can throw a couple the other 5 or 6 people in other boats, whether it be a quad and a double or whatever. But yeah,
So
so
this is for adults, right? This
this
is
is
an
for
adult.
adults, but it could, I mean, they do stuff for everybody. So
I think you get some interest, especially since it's not like something that it's just for like one group of people. It's just like get yourself there, and then if it's all organized, you know.
yeah,
I mean, I can't imagine my this fitting into my life at this point in my life, but in a few years when it's just, me and Chris and it's, if we don't have too many college burden costs on our plate, I think, yeah, it could be
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
So, and I know there's other people in that situation. So,
yeah, yeah, I
yeah.
think it'd be kind of fun to have, like, a really, like, warm alternative to, and then maybe this will be something that I always do in
Yep.
like, either January, February, or March, we head down to the Bahamas and we go for we row for a week, so
Yeah.
So
Cool.
I'm trying, yeah. It may not materialize the dates that I'm kind of looking at right now because we're getting so close to it. But I'm like, even if even if I could figure out like a Wednesday to Saturday just to go down there and try it out. And I mean, I don't travel. I mean, I travel pretty well, so uh doing something short like that and turning right back around wouldn't be that bad. Travel time, because you do need to make a stop at least from Rochester. Travel time gets you somewhere into like the 7 to 8 hour range because you got a layover somewhere and it's
Okay.
international. So, you know, you would leave Rochester at like 6 in the morning. You'd probably get there around 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And then on the way back, because they send the planes back, back up this way, you leave maybe 2 or 3 in the afternoon and you get back to Rochester midnight, 1 in the morning. So, yeah, something to think about.
Cool.
Very, very cool. Well, have a great rest of the week. I'll
Yeah,
get
you too.
the podcast edited up, and if anyone wants to come on, if you're listening and you want to come on the podcast, please let us know. Shoot us a message.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.